Welcome back, everybody. Several Central Texas homicide suspects are now off the streets. It comes after the U.S. Marshal's Lone Star Fugitive Task Force arrested 7 murder suspects within just 10 days. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk to Brandon Fila with the U.S. Marshals about these arrests. So just last week, you all announced from the task force that it helped arrest 7 murder suspects in the span of 10 days. How notable is that for this task force to be able to get that many suspects arrested?
Yeah, I think it's very notable. This is something that we've been coming upon. This is our 20th year here. We're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary here with the Fugitive Task Force. But I think it's our relationships with our state, local, federal partners, to where now we're able to, produce these amount of arrests that are dangerous. These are 7 homicide arrests. These weren't planned. These were dispersed through a 10-day time span, case by case, and it just happened that when we look back, we realized we arrested 7. So we are here to stand ready to combat these type of violent criminals that are here within our local community, to bring some type of closure for some type of justice for these victims and victims' families, and these specifically these 7 cases. So this just is a very good highlight of this task force, of how we've come together over the last 20 years, just by agencies that really supplement to make this task force very successful with manpower, resources, and tools of the trade, whether it's tactics or intelligence.
You just mentioned it there, though, but these 7 suspects, they all lived here in communities in our area.
Yeah, these were all individuals that were here in the greater Austin area. 6 were crimes that were committed here in Austin, Texas, and then 1 was outside in Williamson County. So yeah, right here there were 7 in the greater Austin area that committed 7 homicides here in the last 10 days, or warrants were available in the last 10 days. These are investigations that go as far back as 2023. As you can see, Hemphill was an individual that committed a murder in 2023. That also was the highlight of Austin Police Department, to where they've solved 100% of their murders that occurred in 2023. I think that's an announcement they made earlier last week.
Right.
So, those are cases that have been investigated by those detectives. They get a warrant, and then we're asked to execute that warrant, in which we take full responsibility in bringing that person to justice.
What also stuck out about the names of the suspects and ages of some of them, 3 of the 7 murder suspects are minors, I believe. Because they're juveniles, how much does that change the work that it takes to apprehend them?
Yeah, it's definitely work that it takes to apprehend them, because really they're juveniles, right? They're committing these crimes at a younger age now, is what we're seeing here in the Austin community or anywhere else out throughout the country. And it's really like, what type of pattern of life do they have? And you're really focused on their parents to try to see where they're residing at. And you got to remember, these kids are young. They're going to do, you really want an element of surprise, because kids aren't really in the full capacity to think more like an adult. So they may make a further movement that really, could put their lives, in jeopardy at that point, right? By pulling a cell phone out of their pocket or something like that. So you really want to be able to, try to correspond something maybe with an adult. But if not, a lot of times it's surveillance, and just get them at that moment of vulnerability to where we can do some type of surprise, to where, they won't have time to take action on law enforcement, or, do something to where they're afraid in that time, by being encountered by law enforcement.
Are you saying that they're more dangerous then?
I don't think I have the title to say whether they're more dangerous or not, but I think anyone that commits a type of violent act that takes the life of someone else tells you right there that it's a violent case. And that's what this task force is specifically assigned to do, is tackle that type of violent criminal activity here, where there's a warrant for their arrest, and it's our job to execute that warrant.
All right, Brandon Fila with the U.S. Marshals. Thanks again for being with us.
Yes, sir.